Oh, that was a funny feeling. Wow. Have you ever let something drip down your nose until you can't take it anymore? That was a quite powerful sensation. Whew. Okay. So important to wear sunscreen. Whew. Whew. Yes. Yes. Oh. I've been having difficulty sleeping. I've been feeling a lot of stress. Oh. I'm trying to sleep. And I would have thought with all the movement I would sleep better, but it's been quite a struggle. This is my breakfast. I'm just gonna get my breakfast. Do you have breakfast? Do you want to get something delicious? This is my breakfast. I generally have been using water instead of plant-based milk because of my financial anxiety. I'm not perfect. I make some questionable decisions despite all the overthinking and anxiety that I have. I hope you can hear me. It's very windy. But I thought, why not be outside and soak in the sun? Can you see the sun? I hope you can see the sun. It's a beautiful day, except for the wind. But well, maybe it can be windy and beautiful. Okay, I'm just gonna finish this off. It's really good. Okay. Where were we? Soaking in the sun. Every day. I wake up and I think, what could I do to make this world? What could I do to make this world a more loving place? Is that possible? I think it's possible. I also think there's food in my teeth. And both can be true. And I believe that they are both true. I also have a magical carrot. I feel like When people think about carrots, close your eyes if you want. Everything is optional. I'm going to close my eyes and imagine a carrot. And when you imagine a carrot, what do you imagine? If you hadn't seen my carrot, is this one carrot or is this 2 carrots? What is a carrot? Who gets to decide where 1 carrot begins and where 1 carrot ends? And I wouldn't want, if this carrot had feelings, I wouldn't want this carrot to feel shame for being exactly as they are. And in the same way, I wouldn't want us to feel shame for how we are. And unfortunately, we live in a world where there's so much pressure on how we look, on how we smell, on how we taste, on how... fill in the blank. And it's exhausting to just think about all the overthinking that we can do about our metaphorical carrots and about what other people might think about our metaphorical carrot. Or are we carrot? Do we have I think you get the point. I've struggled with feeling like I'm not enough. I've struggled with loving myself, or with being quite harsh on myself. And I'm still on that journey. And I'm getting to a better place. It's difficult. And I'm asking for help. This morning was my last attempt to ask for help from the people that I would have thought might be there during challenging times. And I think ultimately the answer is going to be no. That's my prediction based on my instincts. And as a queer person and a trans person that really struggled to find myself based on the environment and the culture that I grew up in, it feels disappointing. I feel, actually, yesterday I had my training run for my first marathon. And I was running by the beach, and there were these, I assume, straight people, and they looked like they were probably straight. If you can tell by looking at somebody, which you can't always, but I assumed that they were a straight couple. And they were so affectionate. I think they were very in love, and they were holding each other and picking each other up and kissing each other. And I would like to think that usually I would be happy for them. Like, they seemed very happy together. And because of the economic challenges that I've faced as a result of transphobia and homophobia, I feel deeply disconnected from people who have a very different experience of safety, of access to their basic needs. And there's been quite a journey to get to this place of asking for support and to see the ways that other people have their basic needs met, and then to be stressing out about the price of vegetables feels like it feels painful, and I don't feel emotionally connected. And seeing how I have asked for help, and it took me 20 years to do that. I'm proud of myself for asking, and I can't control how people will respond, and I'm going to ask the universe to support me. And it's just difficult and complicated because I don't want to put myself in danger, and at the same time I do want to make this world a more loving place and a more safe place, and I fear that I will be met with aggression and violence and hostility for wanting to do this intense love work and to be intentional about building a safer universe in terms of consent and pleasure and love. And why does it feel so dangerous to talk about love? To talk about how we can be more loving with ourselves and each other, and how we can celebrate our bodies and how we are each unique, just as this carrot is unique, and we don't need to be like everybody else to be lovable. And I wonder how we would think about what love is and what pleasure is and what sex is if we weren't so strongly influenced by traditional ideas of love and sex that are so limiting, when love and sex and pleasure and intimacy can be infinite if we want them to be. They can be creative Oh wow, it's really, really windy. I really hope you can hear me. Um, it's just, I know that I need to be outside right now, so I'm gonna stay here and hope that this is audible. Because for my mental health, I've been on a journey in terms of mental health and anxiety and feeling lonely and yeah, where was I going? Oh yeah, having time with the sun is one of my most important practices, and to do it earlier in the day is best because the sun gets more likely to burn and to cause unwanted health effects during the middle of the day. But at the beginning, you can get the what's it called? Infrared benefits and get less of the unwanted UV. And also, wear sunscreen is a really good idea. Whew. Yeah. Where were we? Love. How do we love ourselves? How do we love? What does it mean to love? What does it mean to make love? And what if we lived in a world where there was this assumption that in order to love, you needed a carrot? And going back to my sex ed experience, there was an implied penis in sex during my sex ed. I didn't realize that. I remember seeing the slide up on the wall and it said vaginal sex. And I thought, oh, we're going to learn about lesbian sex. But I was wrong. There was an implied penis that nobody had told me because it was implied. And that was a learning moment about how there are these assumptions and how what I think words mean might be very different than what somebody else means when they use the same words and pictures. And that's why it's so important for us to communicate and to have conversations and to break the silence about sex and pleasure and intimacy, to take out the attempts at mind reading and guessing, which can be quite dangerous. And it can be difficult to ask for what we want, and it is quite unlikely that people will just know what feels good for us. And every person has a unique experience of our bodies, of our metaphorical carrots, of language and visuals. And because something works for somebody does not mean that it's going to work for somebody else. And even between people, there's some things that somebody might want to do with one person but might not want to do with somebody else, and that is totally totally cool. Everybody gets to choose what they want to do and who they want to do that with. And every relationship is unique. And the energy and the dynamics that influence how we experience touch and how we experience quality time varies depending on so many different factors. I want to invite us to be intentional with love, to be intentional with touch, with movement. And I want to invite you into a journey of movement, of dancing. I'm not a professional dancer, but I enjoy moving my body, and I wonder if you might enjoy it as well. And to dance like nobody's watching, or however we want to dance. There's no one right way. And this is an invitation to move, to be, to exist in our bodies however feels aligned. And if we want, we can massage ourselves, we can tease ourselves, we can even make love or make fuck with ourselves, and we can take breaks, we can do whatever feels aligned. How does that sound? Okay, let me cue the music. One moment.